A key second phase of the COVID-19 public inquiry launches today, with the chair, Baroness Hallett, saying families who lost loved ones during the COVID-19 pandemic will not be ignored.
Well, the latest we have is that Rishi Sunak has told the inquiry he's unable to provide his WhatsApp messages from his time as Chancellor during the pandemic, as he's failed to back up those messages. Well, let's speak now to Charles Plessinger, who lost both mother and wife within 6 weeks of each other in 2021 after they both contracted the virus. Thanks very much indeed for joining us once again. I know you've shared your story with us on GB News very often, but clearly the Baroness, the Chair, is saying that, you know, we need to learn more details for you and others about what was done at this very early stage of the pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's vital that we do learn the lessons. I think an important part of that is allowing more bereaved families and the people who suffered the worst impacts of the virus to actually have voices in the inquiry.
I want your voice to say, because clearly in terms of the inquiry itself was to learn lessons and make sure if anything, God forbid, happened again, the government would be better prepared.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's vital, you know, that the bereaved families' voices are part of that process. Without our voices, those lessons will never be fully learned. I think it's important that the inquiry listens to the families and those people infected, impacted the most by this virus and this pandemic.
Charles, one of the things the COVID inquiry will be looking at is those sporting events which took place in March, just as COVID was running rife in parts of Italy, for example. I think they'd just started a lockdown in northern Italy, and yet these huge sporting events, the rugby was taking place, there was horse racing, tens of thousands of spectators. When you look back at that period, were you stunned that those events were still going ahead?
I was absolutely mortified at the time. I knew that it would actually lead to more of a disaster, more deaths, more people suffering the long-term effects of COVID. Yeah, it was absolutely reckless on the behalf of the government. I don't feel they took the medications appropriately, and they didn't take the steps to protect the country or the people. You know, we knew social distancing was a huge part of this, and basically what they did is encourage crowds to gather in the middle of a pandemic. It's totally reckless.
And is there any way that you can understand their behaviour in that they perhaps did not fully appreciate what the scientists were saying? That, you know, you get scientists warning, but until you obviously see it taking place, it's very difficult to take on board.
I would suggest that, yeah, they didn't understand. Maybe they didn't listen to some of the scientific advice they were given.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of financial concerns that come above the well-being and health of the nation. And I think that's basically led to the tragic place we are today.
And as this inquiry goes on, Charles, do you, in a sort of strange sort of way, find it quite a comfort, quite cathartic for you 3 years on?
I think it's important to find out the truth, to learn the lessons we need to learn. At the end of the day, we need to do better in the future. You know, whether people like it or not, there are going to be more pandemics coming in the future. We're still in the middle of a pandemic as far as I'm concerned. And, you know, the messaging from the government and media still isn't really on point, and it needs to be improved on. Hopefully that's something that the inquiry will highlight in the future, and we'll do better in the future.
Charles, I hope you don't mind me asking you another personal question, because obviously when we talk about these things, it becomes sometimes a bit of an academic exercise. I just wanted to ask you how you're doing and how things are.
Well, I'll be honest, it's frustrating. It's an uphill struggle. I hope we've planted the seeds to create a better future for all of the UK. I hope the inquest will learn the lessons and do better in the future. Personally, I still have hope, and I won't stop fighting for the families that deserve the answers.
And that's what keeps you and others going, I guess.
Sorry?
I guess that's what keeps you and others going.
Well, yeah, we have to do better at the end of the day. I think the whole country deserves better than what we've seen. You know, hopefully this is a step towards a more open, honest society where the public gets to learn the truth, you know. We deserve the truth.
Charles, as ever, thanks for sharing your thoughts and your story with us on GB News once more. Thank you for your time.